Well, I've been wanting to talk to you for the last couple of days. I was up at the White House for the National Day of Prayer, and I've never been there before. And I'm so thankful that Paula White put me in the list to be able to attend that. And it was interesting. I want to give you some insights about some stuff that happened that I was trying to videotape, but I got it in snippets. I'm going to send it to you. I'm going to post it. But, the Secret Service, how they are, they're all kind of dodgy about, recording stuff. My friend Romero Pena, however, how he succeeded in recording the whole worship service, which Paula White's husband, Jonathan Cain, who's a former lead singer, I think, with a rock group Journey. He helped to lead the worship. And Romero has like 500,000 people look at this, and you can see it. It's nothing like worship in the Rose Garden. And I'm telling you, the president likes lively stuff. He hates religion. He loves the lively stuff. And so that was a great worship moment. And it was kind of like interesting. They had the rabbi that was there. Remember the rabbi? It's kind of, classic looking rabbi. The beard and the black coat and the hat. And he's talking like a rabbi. And but this is the one where the shooter went in. And what's interesting is Donald Trump just pulls people out of the audience. It's fascinating. I mean, it's like this guy, we're going to miss him when we go back to predictable politics. And imagine how scripted everything is. Well, president does get careless about scripting. He trusts his instincts. He pulls people out of the audience. It was hilarious. He said, "Hey, Rabbi, come up here. Talk, say something. Hey, you, say something." And so it's kind of almost like a Pentecostal service where the pastor wants to liven up some testimony. And so the rabbi gets up there. The guy gets up there that chased out the shooter. Now, this fella is interesting. He says that people said that he cussed at the guy who was shooting people with his rifle, and the rifle jams. And then the guy drops the rifle and he runs as this guy yells at him. And the people in the room said his voice was amplified 4 times louder than is possible. And he shouts, he said, whether you believe in angels or not, something amplified my voice. And so this guy without a gun, his ex-military, goes chasing the gunman. The gunman goes out to his car, locks himself in his car, and is trying to get away from a guy on foot, a Jewish guy, chasing him without a gun. Anyway, so the rabbi had some fingers blown off, evidently. Most people miss this. So he had his hands bandaged. I think he had fingers blown off in this thing. And he was talking about the battle of good versus evil. This stuff's very interesting. When it comes time for prayer, the president does something which is totally unprecedented. He starts picking people out of the audience, because he knows there's going to be some, let's face it, there's going to be some, he wants the lively prayers going on. And he pulls Ralph Reed out. Now, here's a shout out to Ralph Reed. You guys might know him as the conservative, evangelical, political, mobilizer. But when Ralph had to be ready in season, the president goes, Ralph, come on up here, pray. The president knows who the Christians are. He knows who the prayer people are. And Ralph got up, did a fantastic prayer. It was an anointed prayer. Paula White was the best, I think, prayer person at the end. She's taken authority over principalities and powers and all the devices of hell that are coming against the president. And of course, in the backdrop, you have the Barr hysteria because this attorney general is going after the spying. And by the way, on that subject, let me just point something out, some headlines we have here in the news. I know these things. And, because relationships are everything, my friend. And there's the few key people like Devin Nunes. This guy, keep praying for him. This guy is mad. You can say he's the wrong. Some people are the wrong people to irritate. I think Attorney General Barr's one, but look at this guy. He says the report from Mueller, who is talking about this Joseph Mifsud. If you saw last night, Papadopoulos with his wife sitting there. But that was so fascinating watching her. It was a study in behavior. Did you see the way she rolled her eyes when Hannity was describing this hourglass blonde that was being set up with Papadopoulos to try to seduce him into giving information on Russia, which he didn't even have? His wife is rolling her eyes because he was single, evidently, at the moment that happened. But I don't want to miss my point. Here's my point. But here's the deal. You recall that the Mueller Dossier, when it came out, I said that they were going to comb through it. One of the first things that we found is that Mueller's team used a news report. They used a report from the UK Guardian to report that there was the Link campus was a place where Mifsud had worked. What they failed to say in the same report is Mifsud was actually related to Italian intelligence service. Let me tell you the story here. Guy Mifsud is most likely connected to the FBI and the CIA, and he was used We're going to find out. This is where the Clapper and the Brennan stuff is going to unravel on him. He was used to work around American intelligence limitations to set up a staff member of Donald Trump's, a young guy in his 30s who wanted to work with Trump, to set him up so that he would end up stumbling into a trap where he would make reference to letters that he knows exist that the Russians have from Hillary. He was told that they exist from this CIA sting. These guys were meeting him and saying, hey, you know, the Russians have it. So he sees this beautiful woman, it's called a honeypot. She sets him up to start talking. Then this Mifsud character is involved with this whole thing. But he's actually, Mueller is describing him as a potential Russian asset, which is so stupid because the guy actually has a history of training CIA and FBI for the United States. Remember, what we did was we used Australia and we used Great Britain, which is Steele and those guys, and we used this Italian guy, all as assets that work with the FBI and the CIA in order to set up Donald Trump and get around any limitations they were having so that they could find a reasonable pretense to begin surveillance and justify surveillance based upon inappropriate statements because I'm sorry to say, the Obama administration intelligence services were setting up and trying to penetrate and get into Trump's campaign to destroy it and to possibly have an insurance policy, is what they called it, in the event that he ever got elected. Does that make sense to you? All right, this is crazy stuff. By the way, there's one other thing which is really important, which I was shocked by. I want you to see, because this is stuff that you can't make this stuff up. Hold on, here we go. Of course, Gaza's flaring up. You know what that means? That there's going to be a Middle East. I think that they're trying to put pressure on the president to come out with the Middle East initiative, and I think that this is all part of the theater of them. So the president has pressure to come out, and he wants to make an initiative, and it's going to be interesting to see what that looks like. Whatever it is, I pray to God he's not going to try to give real estate away from Israel. That's always the temptation. And he's got so many things working for him right now. The stupidest thing he could do is abort it by touching Israel the wrong way. But in all likelihood, whatever the president offers, the Palestinians are going to reject it because they make too much money off the problem. Don't forget, these people are getting money all over the world. They get flown around in jets. This is the life. They can't solve the problem. You'd be surprised how many political problems exist because people don't want to solve them. They lose money. But this is also the thing that was really shocking to me. Winnie the Pooh. Can you believe this? Winnie the Pooh star accused of rape. Winnie the Pooh star is accused of rape. Now I want to ask you a question. I've always had suspicions about Winnie the Pooh. And I've always said, that you should be always leery about talking bears. So Winnie the Pooh looks like he himself is suspect right now. Now, what the other thing that I got to put there, oh my God, while we're belly aching about America and our problems, our friends in China, China's putting Muslim in concentration camps, and they just destroyed a 5,000 member megachurch. Did you know that? And while this is going on, listen to me. While this is going on, we are seeing ourselves stripped off by social media. One at a time, they're taking us off media. They got Google lobbying Washington right now. I'm telling you, that the president says he's watching this. He's got to do more than watch this. I know everybody's saying you don't want to get the government involved with regulating business. Let me tell you something. We did it with Ma Bell. We did it with the railroads. We did it with Standard Oil when Rockefeller Oil. These people cannot be trusted. You have got to bust them up. I'm telling you, if they do not make an equal platform for the free, you see, the problem is Silicon Valley. All the young people that are incentivized to do the monitoring, they're all raised in liberal and leftist Marxist territory. California is the worst place to have customer service interpreting messaging from a 25-year-old because they're under the influence of that whole aggregate belief system out there. Does that make sense? We have got to protect up to 2020. I hope I survive. I hope we make it and we don't get peeled off constantly as we get closer to 2020 because they don't want that they want to stop us. You know what I'm talking about? You need to share this message just because I'm getting upset about this whole thing. So, I'm telling you, the Middle East, I don't trust the news cycles. I think it's manipulated all over the place. But I want to talk about relationships once again. that rabbi, he was sharing things. It was when I saw him get up there, when I saw Ralph Reed pray, when I saw Paula White's husband, Jonathan, leading the worship. And then I thought, how did I even get into that? Well, it was Paula White. It was her kindness in reaching out to me to let me do this, to even be there, to be able to see it. So here's what I want to tell you. Relationships are the house of your harvest. Another way to put it is Joseph, when he built those storehouses, we're in the season of the storehouses being built. The economic figures are so frightening. Democrats are falling over in their, they're having the apoplexy and cardiac arrest because we haven't had numbers like this. It's the lowest unemployment we've had. Look at this. The lowest unemployment jobless rate since 1969. It's the envy of the world, the American economy, which is, trust me, this is like a from God, and it'll be like the envy it'll be the shock of the world if we dork out our own blessing with what God is doing, because it's mercy doing this right now. It sure isn't because we deserve it. And by the way, don't pay attention to any news cycles that talk about evangelicals getting up in meetings and saying something to the Buttigieg, whatever the guy's name is, the guy who was running on the Democratic Party. I got to get his last name pronounced properly. It's very difficult. I'm having a hard time with it. But it's the guy who was a gay mayor. So this is the left's way of dividing the Christians on the right, because the Christians are so weak. I mean, we don't know our doctrine from third base. We're completely confused. We don't understand politics. Let's face it. I've been one of us for like 40 years. I know my tribe. We don't understand politics. We think that we're going to have to just pray. We're going to revival our way into a solution. Let me tell you something. You don't revival your way into a solution. It's kind of like praying that God is going to fix your kids, but you don't take the time to hug them. Or you're praying for a better relationship with your wife. And so you take off for 40 days in the wilderness and fast and pray and do prophetic proclamations. And meanwhile, your wife wants a divorce. Why? Well, maybe you should have gone on a weekend with your wife and taken her to the Bahamas or someplace. In other words, you can't hire someone else to hug your kids, and you can't get God to do a revival for you to solve a problem. You got to solve another way. You know, it's like when I was unemployed. I used to say, Lord, you can provide the job. And the Lord said, why don't you go look? I'm sitting there when I was 19 years old. Oh, Lord, you could bring the job to me. If it's your will, it'll be done. The Lord said, you're going to be waiting a long time if that's the formula. You got to get out there and look. I said, well, surely you'll lead me. The Lord said, yeah, I will lead you. You first go to the want ads, and then you start looking. You knock, knock, knock. You ask, ask, ask. You go, go, go. And oh my God, this was a total different revelation of the life of revival. And so this is where Christians are at right now. You better get plugged in. You better understand what's happening. I'm doing an extreme dream trip. You want to check it out, extremedreamtrip.com. It's for the purpose of identifying the key relationships that'll put you where you need to be. It's the key relationships in life that work. And the doors, big doors, move on small hinges. There are 3 strategic relationships right now that are the bridge between where you are and where you want to go. I could virtually prophesy to you. Let me show you something. This guy right here, Andrew Womack, a friend of mine. I got to figure out, how did I meet him? I love this guy, but we became friends. And I put out my commentary on Donald Trump for president. He had the boldness to put it out to all of his network. And that's how I found out, Andrew Womack. I got one guy I knew that was actually standing with me. We never met. I just took a bold stand, and he recognized the truth. Then we became friends. One key relationship can change your life. ExtremeDreamTrip.com. I want you to find out how to maximize the relationships God's already given you, how to build the harvest. There's storehouses for you in this economy. There's storehouses of business. There's storehouses of new entrepreneurial ideas. We've never had an entrepreneurial anointing like America has now. It's kind of like a grace maybe before a shift in the future. But right now, God's pouring out his spirit. It's like 70 AD, Jerusalem sucked. You don't want to be around there. Rome took it. But at the upper room on the day of Pentecost, you wanted to be there. Right now, we're in a time of grace, not judgment. And your harvest is in your relationships. So I want to show you how to supernaturally supercharge relationships, attract the ones you need, frankly, widow out, get rid of, and prune the tree of those relationships that are from a previous season that you feel guilty about letting go of. And they're wearing you down. They're killing you because the devil's wearing some of you out through the wrong relationships. We're going to have a conversation about this, a real conversation. Anyway. My wife's calling me. I got to go. But that's extremedreamtrip.com. I think that's what the domain is. But we're going to San Diego, and the price, I think, is going up. I'm so sorry. I meant to talk to you about this, but because we got limited rooms, and I love this place. It's Paradise Point. Some of my best meetings have been in Paradise Point. I want you and me to go to paradise. Hallelujah. That sounds like a salacious thing to say. I'm a married man. I didn't mean to say anything inappropriate. But I think you ought to take someone to paradise. Take them to paradise. Have them join us. And we're going to have a powerful time. I want to meet you in paradise. We're going to go there. The relationships are housing the anointing. The relationships house your strategy. Everything you need, God didn't put in a bank account. He put in a person. Come on. I'm telling you that. Hey, look at this. See this? America working. Look at this picture. You're going to have to get that shovel and go into the mine, and you're going to have to dig the mine of God's relationships in your life, because that's where your gold is. That's where your ideas are. That's where your funding is. You know what? I talked to a friend of mine who's a celebrity. I won't say his name because I don't like to take advantage of constantly dropping people's names because it's an inappropriate thing to do. But anyway, I was talking to, it was Michael Jr., the comedian. I just slipped out. Anyway, so I was talking to him today, and he was talking about how it takes to find the right. It takes, what did he say? He said 3 weeks. Comes up with 7 minutes of brilliant stand-up comedy. It could take you 3 weeks of work to come up with those 7 minutes. And you know what it is? He's mining relationships with the brilliant comedic thinkers that are able to accelerate the process. If you want to accelerate the gap between where you are and where you want to be, you have to find the right people, because your gold is in them, their hills. It's people. Extreme Dream Trip. Hang out with some extraordinary people. We got them coming in from all over the world. You're going to love it. And we have people in all the 7 mountains. You know what my message is. We got the political people. We got the CEOs of these incredible companies. And we all hang out because it's in friendship. Some people actually, I realize, they don't even come to listen to me talk. They sleep in. Used to be a big insult until somebody told me, Lance, they're not coming to hear you talk. They've already heard you talk. They're coming because they want to be with you. After I heard that, I felt better. Come out and let's get together. Sometimes what you need is that one comment, that one meeting, that one person, that one idea that comes out of a conversation. It's not even in the event itself, although the event, in my opinion, is so powerful. I'm bringing in a whole film crew to capture it because I want this as my legacy. I want people to catch these supernatural relationship ideas, because everything you need. Jesus built this whole movement out of picking the right people. You know what he picked? He picked apostles. He picked apostles, and you would have missed the apostles. You would have said, look, that guy's a blue-collar fisherman. This guy over here, he's a putz. He's working with the political party. He's collecting taxes. You would have missed it all. The one guy who everybody thought was most likely to succeed, they trusted him with the money. He was the wrong guy. But 11 out of 12 of Jesus' foundation for his future, 11 out of 12 of the investments he made was people. It wasn't in building projects. It wasn't in real estate. Interesting, huh? Your future, your legacy, and your life is tied up in having the right people. I was with a friend of mine a week ago in a hospital, and there was 24-hour vigil going on. He had 4 clogged arteries, dropped dead. And it was supernatural that he was sustained. You know what it was? The right people standing in the gap, the right people praying. And it was a global network. It was amazing. And then Chuck Pierce prophesied something right during the Passover weekend. Someone gets up and says, I know who that is. It's this guy. And I'm telling you, the right people. Do you understand that this is the most important thing? Is Jesus is the right person, God has the right people, and your harvest is made up of living stones. That's why I'm thanking Paula for opening up the door for me to be there. I'm thanking Andrew for being my friend. I'm thanking many of you are just the single, you're like the hinge in the door to someone else's destiny. I want to help you to be able to flourish and prosper in the house of the Lord. All right, extremedreamtrip.com. I'll be talking to you soon. I'm going to call my wife. Bye-bye. Hi, I'm Lance Wallnau. I want to thank you for watching this broadcast. And if you'd like to see more of what we've got coming up, and you never know when something new is going to be interesting, just hit the subscribe button right there, and I look forward to seeing you in a future broadcast.